All right, guys, I am Jay Horton. I make movies that make money. And this is how. Today, I'm going to do my regular end of the month live stream, and we're going to talk about. Oh, hold on. Sorry, guys. So today, I'm going to start out talking a little bit about Amazon, some of the changes over there, how I'm dealing with that, and how I'm pivoting into new distribution outlets. So as most people know, about 2 weeks ago, Amazon announced that they are no longer going to be uploading, they're no longer going to allow unsolicited uploads of documentary films and short films. And as a lot of you know, my business model over the last year has been predominantly documentary films. So, this is a little bit of a sting for me. Now, luckily, as far as my business model goes, over, I don't know, from like November to, present day, my returns from Amazon had, they had been going down, and I'd been getting onto new platforms. Hey, Fabian, how's it going, man? And I'd been getting onto new platforms. So, right now, Amazon is amounting to about 30% of my overall returns. So, I will survive this as new projects come out and I make more and more on other platforms. But there's a lot of misinformation out there about Amazon. So I wanted to kind of clear up some of that. So first off, everybody's saying that, hey, Amazon only pays $1 an hour. Now, Amazon pays $1 an hour for movies that are through Amazon Prime, that are free with Prime. And you can make anywhere from 1 cent an hour up to 12 cents an hour, depending on your CER. However, they keep on lowering those dynamics to where now, basically you need to have over a 60% CER to get even over the 1 cent an hour. Now, this has changed quite a bit over the last couple of years. And honestly, Amazon does not release this information. The only way that I can kind of figure it out is by taking, my library of titles, which now is like, I think I have 35 to 40 titles in my library. So I can look at those at the end of the month, see what the CERs, see how much money they made, do some math and figure out, how much per hour they're making. Now, as far as I can tell, 60% is the new cutoff rate. So if you're anything under 60%, you're at 1 cent an hour. It used to be 50. I believe it is 60 now. So it would stand to reason then that the sliding scale would kind of go up from there, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, but not quite. So I have a couple of movies with the, CERs in the 60% range, like 63 and 66, I think. And those are only making 2 cents an hour. So, and then I have another one that has like an 80 something percent, and it's only making 2 cents an hour. So as far as I can tell, you need to have a CER in the 90% or higher to get over that 3 cents an hour. And I talked to one other filmmaker that I know that has a CER over 95%. I think his is like 96, or it might be 95. And he is only making 5 cents an hour. So anyway, but that is only through SVOD. And yeah, that's pretty low. But at that rate, there is still some blood to be squeezed from the stone there. I mean, I have titles with, that are making the 1 cent an hour that have CERs under 60%. And I mean, yeah, some of them don't make anything. Some of them make, $25 a month or $100 a month. But I have others at that rate that are making, thousands a month. Now by thousands, I mean like 2 to 6,000. I mean, the highest performing title that I've ever had at that rate was making about $6,000 a month. But of course, like with any new release, it doesn't stay at that level. It holds like close to that for about 3 months, then it kind of falls off. But again, it's important to remember that, I say this all the time, but when I'm talking about Amazon stuff, I'm just talking about Amazon, and Amazon has a single component of your release strategy. So like if you're planning on releasing a movie and like Amazon's going to be your main thing, not a great idea. You need to be on as many different platforms as possible. So the other fallacy with the 1 cent an hour thing is that you don't have to go subscription video on demand. You don't have to go SVOD. You can bring it on as a TVOD or transactional video on demand, meaning, it's there just for rental and purchase. And then you're getting like, I think it's 50% of whatever it is. So, if you're renting it for $4, you get $2 of it. If you're selling it for $20, you get $10 of it. And a lot of people say, hey, great, wait, so let's do that. But, the problem with TVOD for some is that it's much more difficult to get an average customer to take a chance on something that they have to pay money up front to rent. Whereas if it's a subscription or an ad video on demand, it's kind of free in their head. So, they're willing to at least give it a try. So at least in my experience, like I've found that in general, I make a little bit more through SVOD, although that depends on the project and it does change. I know a couple of filmmakers. I know a couple of filmmakers this year, and I wish I could shout these guys out, but I can't betray their proprietary information. But both of them put out documentaries. Both of them predominantly did TVOD, and both of these made a lot of money. Like one of them made more money in a month than almost my whole library did over the course of a year. But again, it's important to remember too that like these two examples, they are outliers. For the most part, statistically speaking, if you put a movie up on TVOD, put the same movie up on SVOD, statistically speaking, in general, the SVOD is going to perform better. Statistically, like when you're talking about Filmhub, for example, I talk a lot about Filmhub. Filmhub has about 12,000 titles in their library, so they have data and information from 12,000 different sources. Okay, and if somebody with that much data is telling you that AVOD and SVOD are performing better for movies at this level, I mean, why would they lie? For one thing, they're paid all on the back end. You have to make money for them to make money. So they want you to make more money. So if in general people were making more money on TVOD, they would push TVOD more. But in general, they don't. So anyway, movie retreat. Oh, you know what? I forgot I'm on StreamYard. I can pop these things up. There it is. How low did Trap perform on Tubi compared to Monsters in the Woods? Well, it's only been up Trap has been up for about on Tubi for a month and a half. So it's still a little early to tell, but at least for the first month, it's doing a little bit better. And actually the first month's numbers are really only a couple of weeks. And I think for the first 2 weeks, it made like $400, and Monsters in the Woods for the previous month was something like $800. So ask me again in March or the end of March, beginning of April, and I'll have better numbers. But right now it looks like Trap's doing well, and I'm running a paid ad on Trap, and my click-through rate on it's insane. It's like 0.0012 cents a click-through, so the ad is killing it. And then Fabian asks, SVOD is your first source. Hold on. Where do I keep forgetting to pop these out, guys. Sorry, it's my first day. SVOD your first source. For right now, overall in my library, I'm making more money off actually, you know what? I take that back. Up until 2 months ago, I was making the most money from SVOD across the board. Over the past 3 months, my Tubi numbers have increased so much, and that's an AVOD platform. And right now, that is my number one source. And especially with this Amazon, layoff, not taking any more docs, so I won't have new documentaries on Amazon anymore. So I still have my library, most of it, but nothing new will go up there. As far as those it'll be alternate platforms or stuff that I'm putting up myself or Tubi TV. But anyway, but overall, I still say SVOD is a good option, but I think we're moving into the age of AVOD, where I think those platforms are going to be the ones that are bringing in the most money in general. Yeah, Ice Queen. It's a real shame. You know, I mean, for short films, there wasn't a ton of monetization to be done there. I don't know a lot of people that were making a ton of money, but it gives a movie or a short film a little bit more of a sense of legitimacy. It was a platform to show on. I think it was really great, and it's sad that it's done. What is your feeling? So there are so many theories on this, and honestly, there's so many different algorithmic reasons that Amazon does things that are behind the curtain that we don't know about. It's hard to say. My general thought is that there was too much inappropriate content being uploaded. And notice I did not say bad content or horrible content, because I'll leave those subjective descriptors to other people. But I'm saying inappropriate content. Like, as far as nonfiction goes, there were a lot of people uploading like live streams, like what I'm doing right now, to Amazon, or their YouTube videos. I know a filmmaker who, he called himself a documentary filmmaker, but he was doing YouTube tutorials, and he was putting those up, and and then in addition to that, another type of inappropriate content would have been, the fake newsy type stuff, stuff that maybe was putting across dangerous information, whether that be, political or medical or whatever. Basically, I think there was no real curation. Everything was getting through, and eventually it became a problem. And as far as them reinstating it, again, there's, I could make a guess, but it's just a guess. I think it's possible that they'll reinstate the nonfiction, side of it. I don't see shorts coming back. They may do documentaries, but I think they'll curate more. And, but what more likely than not, I think Prime Video Direct is going to be a thing of the past in the not too distant future. I mean, it's still open to narrative features, but I would say, in the next couple of years, probably it will either be gone, or you'll be making so little, like sub 1 cent per hour, that it just, it won't even be worth it. Ice Queen asks, can you reply to people who have left reviews on your movies on Amazon? Yes, you can. And I honestly, this is something, it goes against a lot of popular thinking, but this is something I actually recommend, because it creates interaction. It creates engagement, whether it's positive or negative. More people are interacting with your project, and I just can't see how that couldn't help your CER. Now, my piece of advice when doing something like that is, you got to be sweet as pie. Like, don't try to argue with a negative review, or don't try to justify your choices. Like, if somebody says, this movie is the worst thing I ever did, I wasted my entire life, just respond, well, I'm so sorry you felt it was a waste of time, but I really appreciate you taking the time to watch it and leave this review. And you'd be surprised. I've had a few actually change their reviews after I responded with something like that. Somebody that gave me a 1 star and said, awful, awful, awful. And then, I'll respond. And then like a day or two later, they'll change it, and it'll be 2 stars or 3 stars, whatever. Anyway, I as far as Amazon goes, I don't think that's a bad idea. And I would actually recommend, taking a similar tact with, it's like social media or IMDB, because they do the user ratings there. Although I don't know if you can actually reply to those. So maybe forget that. Oh, shoot. I like questions. All right. Do you have short-term ambitions for higher budget or faith on the higher? Caboose asked, do you have short-term ambitions for higher budgets or faith that being higher on the quality spectrum would increase project profit? So I definitely think that increasing quality can increase your profit. It's a real delicate balance when you're dealing with indie films, and especially indie films under, say, $50,000. Like, the more you spend on a, you know, a movie that little, the harder it is to recoup. Like me personally, you know, when I'm funding stuff myself, you know, I wouldn't fund something right now for $50,000. The most I would spend is 20 right now on a, you know, on an independent, non-studio, you know, name actor project. And even then I'd probably be a little nervous. Um, but that said, you know, spending more money doesn't necessarily equal more quality. You can also, you know, slow down a little bit, spend a little bit more time. You know, me, for example, you know, I'm doing all these documentaries, and, you know, I can spend, you know, a few more bucks on the interviews to get, you know, better, you know, interview quality images. I can spend a few more bucks to get better B-roll, but really at the end of the day, it's going to be the time that I put into post that's going to up the quality of that movie, you know? So, and me personally, you know, I do all the post and stuff myself. So while I do consider, you know, my labor in as part of the costs and budget, it's not a hard cost. Like when I say that I spent, you know, $10,000 on a documentary, I probably only spent maybe, you know, 1,500 to 3,000 on it. And then everything else, I'm counting my labor on it. But, you know, that's how I justify, because your labor does amount to something, and you should always count that in. Wow, a lot of these. By the way, just a heads up, I heard through the grapevine some distros are thinking uploaded aggregated content on YouTube. Yes, there are actually, I know several that are doing this already, and I know several platforms, like people that have monetized channels that have moved into this and are offering filmmakers the chance to upload their content for pretty good rev splits. I had a company on here, and, you know, I can't say their name because it's, you know, it's behind the scenes, but they were offering me a 90-10 rev split off of, you know, anything the features made on their YouTube channel. So it's definitely, and, you know, there's a filmmaker I interviewed on here named Dan Lotz, and 922 Films, and like his whole thing is trying to just, you know, release on YouTube. And I do think that there's a future in that. I do think there's some possibilities there, but, you know, it's also difficult. Like on my channel, for example, I wouldn't put documentaries on here because, you know, I've built time creating this brand, this filmmaking brand. And if I were to start throwing full feature-length docs that really have nothing to do with filmmaking on here, I think I would lose a lot of audience. So like what I am doing is, you know, I'm seeking out other platforms that are already monetized to, you know, seek out those kind of deals while I'm slowly building my own documentary channel on the side, which is called ZapruderFlix, which you guys are welcome to subscribe to. Publicity for films on demand, what would you recommend? You're talking about video on demand, like stuff that you put up yourself. Dude, publicity is publicity. It works the same. You know, I am just now getting more into, I just signed up for a, what do you call it, Gumroad account. So I'm putting up movies there for digital download. And you know, it's the same. The marketing's the same. You know, I'm still looking for people in the same way. I'm still looking in groups. I'm still going through hashtags. You know, at the end of the day, the goal of marketing, you know, is to, you know, get people, especially if you're talking about social media marketing, you're getting people to go from a post to another destination and take an action. And it's the same, whether it's Amazon or whether it's Gumroad. The difference is it's much harder to close that person on something like Gumroad, where it's not a place where people are used to spending money. So what I have found anyway, this is just, and again, this is fairly new for me, but I've been running paid ads for a movie that was just released about a week ago on Gumroad. And so my click-through rate is very low. It's like 0.0001 whatever cent a click-through, but it takes me an average of 100 click-throughs for someone to actually take the action and rent the project. So for every 100 people that I'm bringing through there, one is making a purchase. And I don't know if that's going to be average moving forward. I would assume I'll get better at it as time goes on, but that's kind of where my return is on it right now. And this is something that I'm going to be doing a ton more videos on this year. So 2020, my focus was really a lot on third-party platforms like Amazon. I mean, gosh, how many videos have I done on Amazon now, guys? Like 15 or 20. And then, talking about Filmhub and talking about Tubi TV, and, and the bulk of my income is still there. Like I'm still using that, and I'm not, completely abandoning it, but I am moving much, pivoting much harder into stuff like Gumroad, into stuff like Vimeo on demand. Because, like I said, yeah, it took me 100 people to get that sale, but that sale was $3.99. And of that $3.99, I'll get, I think it's like $3.75 of it. Whereas, that same amount of work on, Amazon would have brought me maybe, 30 cents. So anyway, I'm hoping that this will be a good pivot for me, or a good addition to my already existing market. But, we'll see how it goes. I think AVOD is the future revenue for indie content. I agree as far as the third-party platforms go, that AVOD, it's definitely, I mean, right now, from all the filmmakers that I talk to, distributors I talk to, sales agents that I talk to, like Tubi TV, just right off their mouth all the time. I did an interview with a sales agent on this channel, which will be premiering sometime later this month, and he made a crack that he's made so much money off of Tubi over the last year, he was going to name his next kid Tubi. But yeah, I think we're living in a society that is more and more so like not wanting to pay directly for the content, and ad video on demand. It's basically a return to the old TV days. It was like we were watching TV. You got TV for free, and you could watch as much as you want, and just deal with the ads. And I have a feeling I agree with you. I think AVOD is going to be big. I think now, I think in order for filmmakers to really make a go, to really make a living off their content, I think you have to diversify a little bit more than that. Like, you can't count solely on that AVOD revenue. Now, don't get me wrong, right? I'm sitting here saying this, and right now, as we speak, I'm bringing in 80% of my revenue from AVOD and SVOD. But I have over time, the problem with that is, whether it's Tubi TV or whether it's Amazon or any of those, like, we don't own those relationships. Like, we have no information about those customers, no emails, no nothing, So at the end of the day, over time, that owning that relationship is going to pay off more, even if the returns are in the short term less. So yes, I'm making way less off of, like, say, Gumroad right now when I do a windowing release. But everyone that does buy that, like, I'm creating a relationship with that person. I have their email, like, I have their contact info, like, that stuff goes into building up, a stable customer base. And then, you take that customer base and keep growing it over the course of whatever, 3 or 4 years. And then those returns start to, eclipse what you're making on AVOD. So I can't see ever giving AVOD up. I think it's always going to be a part of my strategy. And right now, it's the number one way to return money, but I don't know that it's always going to be like that. I think it's, regardless of what you're doing, I think it's always important to keep trying new things, to keep diversifying, and to keep an open mind. I was talking to somebody in the comments on here, we were going back and forth on comments on YouTube, and, they were really black and white, saying, no, you have to do it this way or you're wrong, and there's, especially in filmmaking, there is no right and wrong, as far as, like, the distribution or the strategies go. Like, there's people making it using many different methods. All I'm talking about on here is how I do it. How does Filmhub decline projects, or do they try to work with any kind of movie despite quality or content? So, Fabian, as far as Filmhub goes, they do not curate content based on artistic quality. There are some technical standards that you have to meet, so if you have, dropped frames everywhere, if, you have aspect ratio changes, although if you claim artistic intent, I think you're okay with that, or the sound's off, or your subtitles don't match up, or, they're pretty picky about artwork. But that's it. At least right now, they're not denying products based on the artistic quality. On the only exception to that is if it's something extreme, like like hate speech, or something extremely graphic, or a snuff film. They won't take those. But for the most part, there's no curation there. But who knows, that may change a little bit over time. I guess we'll see. And I would assume other platforms similar to Filmhub will pop up as Filmhub gains more popularity, and we'll see how they do it. I mean, honestly, all this talk about Amazon, and I think had Amazon just been curating just a little more carefully from the get-go, we wouldn't be sitting here right now complaining about the rates and, the purging and all of that, Anyway. Are the changes because people from run to Amazon Video and any people are gone? So again, man, it's probably a factor. There's hundreds of factors. Then that could be one of them. Like I said, I think predominantly it comes from inappropriate content being uploaded. Stuff that just shouldn't have been on Amazon in the first place. That's what I believe in my gut. We'll see over time if a real answer is ever given to us. I don't think it will. I have a short film on Is That Right? Can I still apply this comedy horror to Filmhub? Yes, you can totally submit a film to Filmhub that's already up on Amazon. I wouldn't try to get them to take the Amazon rights. I would keep the Amazon rights yourself. Just upload there and then let them take any of the other platforms they can give you. The only reason I say that is because it's a short film. If you're messing around with the Amazon thing, it could potentially get purged. So I would just, I would submit to Filmhub, but just make sure that you let them know that it's already up on Amazon and you don't want them messing with the Amazon listing. Because one of the things that they can do is, like, say you have a movie on Amazon and you want to turn it over to Filmhub because you want the potential to get on IMDB TV or something like that, they do that. But anyway, just when you upload, just let them know that it's already on Amazon. I believe there's a place in the managed rights where you can even copy the link so they can find it. And then in addition to doing that, after you've submitted, I would write support and just remind them, because sometimes things do slip through the cracks and stuff gets submitted anyway. Is the restrictions on documentaries affect? Yes, the new restrictions do affect Filmhub. It doesn't matter if you're doing it yourself. It doesn't matter if you're coming from a distributor. Amazon right now is not taking unsolicited submissions for nonfiction, documentaries, or short films. Doesn't matter who you are. I'm sure there are some behind the scenes, deals between bigger companies that are still getting through. I'm sure that Amazon's in production on, 1 million documentaries. I'm sure they will have new documentary content up there, but it just is not going to come from independents, at least right now. Hopefully that over time that'll open back up, but that remains to be seen. Would you submit films to a startup national channel that is AVOD for exposure? What about Rev Split? So my general answer to this would be yes, although it depends on the platform and who's running it, and I would take a look at it and I would try to decide. I mean, there's not much harm in trying new startup platforms, because at most, you're going to lose, 20, 30 minutes of your time doing the upload. So for me, I pretty much will try almost anything. Although that said, you can't throw a rock in in a Starbucks in Los Angeles and not hit somebody who's who's trying to start up a streaming platform. So there's a lot of it going on, and I would say it would come down to my feeling on the people that were doing it and how serious I thought they were, and and if I thought they were going to put any kind of marketing muscle behind their library, because that's what it comes down to at the end of the day, is marketing muscle on these things. They're really hard to get going. I have a very good friend that's starting up a streaming network, and it's tough. But but I would at the very, very least, I would check it out and consider it totally. With the recent rate drops and rates and other restrictions, is it just with the revenue? So so if you're talking about Amazon alone, I think you're going to have a real rough time making your living off Amazon alone. It is possible. There are people out there doing it. I mean, I can't give you all of my numbers, but I have half a dozen titles made this year that even at that 1 cent an hour are earning $2,000 and $3,000 a month on Amazon, just Amazon. So I guess it depends on how cheap you can live, but it's tough. But you can, but Amazon's not. There's still, I've said it at the beginning of this, there's still some, blood to be drawn from that stone. There still is some money. I mean, I made, collectively off my, library enough off Amazon this month for most people to live on, so, it really depends. And then if you start diversifying those income streams, through other platforms like Filmhub and getting onto Tubi, then yeah, you absolutely can. I mean, guys, I'm not a genius level filmmaker. I'm not crapping on myself or anything like that, but I'm not a genius. I'm just a guy that knows how to make movies, and I do it and I make my living on it. And I don't have any huge connections to money or huge industry connections. I never did. I've done it all, just like on my own, forcing these things into being, marketing myself, and moving forward. Can you have a film up and still on YouTube? So Jordan, that's an interesting question. And I actually need to look a little bit more into YouTube's terms of service. I'm almost positive that it's fine. But I honestly don't know 100%. I would have to check YouTube's terms of service. But if anyone else knows that, feel free to shout out in the comments. But I'm pretty sure you can have it up on both. I know people that do. And there was a time where somebody was telling me that you couldn't be up on Amazon and YouTube, but I never saw that in their terms of service. So I think so. See, it just goes to show you there's a lot of things I'm still clueless about. I think you can though. Oh, thanks, Adam. I appreciate you checking it out, man. These live streams are always a little tough for me. Maybe Amazon. Yeah, that could that's definitely, like, when I say inappropriate content, that's part of it. Now, there are, and I'm going to say this because I get a little tired of this argument. There are some amazing $5,000 features that target audiences right, that deliver what the audiences want and are great. Now there are probably disproportionately more bad movies at that level. Totally not arguing that, but there's a lot of good stuff, and there's a lot of good stuff that gets purged. I mean, man, when I first started working with indie rights, I was looking at a lot of the other filmmakers' works, and I was expecting it, because they're a lower end distributor. I was thinking, they're not going to be very good movies, but like some of the movies were like incredible, like studio level, like good. I mean, and some of those movies don't make anything, and some of those movies get purged. So, anyway, it's definitely a factor. To make sure that our channel hex asked, to make sure that our newer titles wouldn't get put on YouTube, has just a free stream, but worth bearing in mind that folks wouldn't think, oh, okay, I'm sorry, man, I'm not following you. Can you still distribute films to Filmhub? Yes, you can still distribute your films through Filmhub. Do Amazon watch parties help CER? Yes. Okay. I'm saying yes, but I've honestly not had direct experience with this. Although I would assume if you're pulling them off successfully and you're getting a lot of people on there, it is going to help with your CER. Here's the truth about CER, like hard facts. Amazon doesn't tell us. They give us like these really general guidelines in their FAQs, but they do not, like, we don't know. What somebody told me who has built systems like Amazon's algorithm, they told me that there's so many different factors, like factors in the hundreds that go into determining CER. There's the obvious ones like retention and minutes watched and unique viewers, but like it can be stuff like where the audience is watching from. Like what part of the country, what city, is it urban, is it rural? Like, is it a man, is it a woman? Is it somebody that's like an 18-year-old female from New York is probably going to have a higher CER rating for titles across the board than say, a 45-year-old, white dude from Duluth. That's a total, I'm just throwing out random stats. I don't know that, but yeah, there's no real way to quantify CER. But to answer your question, I would totally, especially if it's something you're good at, try the watch parties. Like I think it's something that I keep saying I'm going to do, and I just haven't. Watch the channel though. I'm going to do one next month, and I'll do a thing on this channel about it. It would be useful to have a dialogue with Amazon Prime management. Whew. So I totally agree with this as a thought process and theoretical. I'm like, yeah, totally. It would be awesome, but they're not speaking. So I just did an interview for IndieWire magazine talking about this, and granted, IndieWire is not Variety or nothing, but they've reached out, multiple times to Amazon to comment on all this. They won't even comment on it. Like they're just sweeping this thing under the rug. I agree with you, but it's such a juggernaut. They don't care. How do these rights belonging to Amazon work? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by the rights belonging to Amazon. Do you mean how does the license work? It's a non-exclusive agreement. There is no contract. By uploading there, you're agreeing to their terms of service, and basically you're giving Amazon the right to distribute through their company, and then you still hold the rights to go elsewhere. Basically, that's what non-exclusive is. If you meant something else, let me know. Oh, cool. A super chat. I think this might be my first super chat. Thank you, Mr. Berger. What are the top 10 streaming partners for Filmhub? So I honestly couldn't tell you in general. I could tell you what the ones that I'm making some money on are. Let me see if I could do 10. Hold on 1 second. One second. Okay. So for me, right now, Tubi TV is number one, followed up by Amazon. Eximo is starting to come up. IMDB TV is high. Now, granted, I only have a few titles on IMDB TV, so I don't have a lot of data there, but the few that I have are doing really well. Hold on, I know there's more. Social Club TV is one I do pretty well on. Although that's a marijuana station. I did it because I did a couple of cannabis documentaries. They're doing well. Hoopla, which I think, is that the library or is that Canopy? I can't remember. But I do okay with Hoopla and Canopy. You Do You Digital, I do decent through. Play Now Media, StreamGo Media, I was doing pretty good on, although I now have a direct deal with StreamGo, so I'm not going through them anymore. Of course, Amazon Prime, I said that. There's one called Vire. I believe it's from the UK. I do pretty good there, but also you got to keep in mind that it's like 90% of my titles right now are documentaries. So if like your mileage will vary depending on your project. There's like I have a horror movie, Monsters in the Woods, and it was on Screambox for a while, and I was killing on Screambox. I'm not exactly sure what happened to that. It got removed, but it was doing really well. But it's the only movie in my library that's on Screambox. So it's it totally depends on the project. I hope that answered that. Done Distributors asked that you get 50 to 100 reviews in the first 30 days. We're only at 30. How crucial are these in the first 30 days? So PJ, if you're talking about Amazon, which I assume you are, because I had a distributor too that was very adamant about this. They would say, you need 100 reviews in the first 30 days, or as many as possible, and it kicks you into the algorithm. I think that it's not as big a deal as it used to be. I think there was a time where maybe that helped, or maybe that helped more. And by saying this, I'm not saying it doesn't help at all and that you shouldn't solicit the reviews. You should absolutely do that. But I wouldn't count on it to help in the way that they are thinking it's going to help. Like 2 years ago, I think they were probably absolutely right. Today, not so much. I mean, again, I have data from probably a couple of thousand films, including my own. And I just don't see the data to back that up. I've heard distributors say it, and then, they show you the numbers, and the numbers don't really back it up. I've seen movies with 30 reviews that are making, $6,000 a month, on Amazon. And I've seen movies with 300 and 400 reviews that are making 50 cents, and vice versa. Like maybe in general, the more reviews you have, the better. But I don't know. I don't think it's such a big thing anymore. And I don't put as much effort into it as I used to. Movie Retreat. Can you make some reviews yourself with emails? And again, I'm assuming you're talking about Amazon here. I would not recommend that. So I think Amazon, and again, guys, this is conjecture. I don't work at Amazon. I'm not behind the scenes. I just go based on what my library does and what I see other filmmakers' libraries doing. Anyway, Amazon's algorithm is incredibly complex. Like, they know they know where the IPs are coming from. Like, there are all kinds of ways to match that stuff. I wouldn't do false reviews. I think they're gonna hurt your returns. So that's and honestly, dude, it's just a honesty is the best policy kind of thing. I wouldn't do that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying I've never done it, especially starting out. But I wouldn't continue to do it. Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. I'm really trying. I wish I had a bunch of stuff prepared in my head that I was going to say. And so far I've just kind of been answering questions, which is going cool. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you, Movie Retreat. Okay. So sorry, guys. I'm rocking it. What is CER? Okay. So what is CER? CER is the metric by which Amazon decides how much to pay you or your movie when you're on subscription video on demand. It stands for Customer Engagement Ranking. You can go to their help page, support page, and look up CER, and it'll kind of explain it there, but they're very, very vague about it. I think they say the criteria are Oh, geez, I don't even remember anymore. But it's so general that it doesn't give you a real answer. But basically, CER is a percent ranking based on all the people, distributors and filmmakers that are uploading onto Prime Video Direct. And then if you have a 63% CER, that means your movie's in the 63% tile of all the movies uploaded through Prime Video Direct. And you can see how a ranking like that would hurt independence, because we're just by the very nature of what we're doing, the movies are going to be made for less money. They're going to be cheaper. It's it's going to be hard, and they're purging movies now. So they start purging the movies on the lower end, so that that curve keeps getting higher and higher. Yeah. Anyway, but guys, I wouldn't spend. This is my general advice on CER. Don't spend a lot of time trying to figure it out. Like you never will. Just do your marketing the best you can. Make your movie the best you can. I think I said market your movie the best you can twice. And that will decide whether you're successful or not some arbitrary ranking on Amazon. And and honestly, I don't think Amazon's going to be there much longer anyway. I read they pulled the PBS doc on Clarence Thomas. Yeah, I don't know. I would have to look that up. I know a lot of stuff got pulled, and it wasn't all just like independent, no-name stuff. There's a filmmaker in one of Alex Ferrari's groups that runs a distribution company, and they had a documentary with a celebrity narrator. It was produced for I don't know what the budget was, like $200,000-$300,000, like high quality work, celebrity narrator. It was purged, or it was denied or purged. I can't remember which, but the week that Amazon made the documentary announcement. So, it's not just low quality or cheap stuff that's getting hurt. Amazon is making a ton of cash. Why should you Yeah, totally. I mean, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And the only reason that I'm still even talking about Amazon, or that I do stuff like this, is because there is still some money to be made there. Like, you still can do it. You talk about moving on, but I still make thousands of dollars a month from Amazon regardless of this. Will that hold through in the future? Who knows? But right now, I'm still making, it's definitely worth it right now. The revenue for docs in places like, yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, my UK returns are like a sliver of my US returns. Like, so if in a month I make $1,000 on a movie, Amazon US, it's going to be making like $60 in the UK. But again, I don't think this is necessarily just a US UK thing. I think it depends on the marketability of your film within certain regions. For example, I've done a few documentaries that are UK based documentaries, and those do much better there. Or I did a movie on Bigfoot. Well, I did a couple, but one of them on Bigfoot did really, really well in Australia, for example. It also did really well in Canada, and maybe Russia. It was doing places that had like big rural areas. It was doing pretty good in. So anyway, yeah, it comes down. So yeah, depending, if you're American and you're making an American movie, chances are it's not going to do as good in the UK. Yeah, man. Post a link to my film. Sure. I mean, you can go look me up on IMDB, Jay Horton. There's like 50 of them. But I'll throw when I get done with this, I'll throw a link in the description to like my link tree where you can kind of go and purchase stuff and, or just check it out for free. But yeah. And also, just as looking me up by name. So I go by Jay Horton now. Professionally, but I directed quite a few movies under Jason Horton before that. So sometimes you got to look up one or the other depending on the platform you're on. But like if you go to Amazon or Tubi TV and type in my name, Jay Horton or Jason Horton, you'll get a bunch. Really do low budget studio level. No time to watch. Damon, dude, if you had a movie under 250,000 with studio level visual effects and no name talent, I think it would kill. I mean, 250 is a little high. Just to be honest, with no name talent, if you can pull together $250,000 for a feature film, there is no reason not to peel off 20 or 30 of that for some name talent. Like just no reason, and at that level. So that would be my piece of advice. If it's too late, you already made it. It could do well. That's a hard budget to recoup narratively with no names. At this level, like no, I can't sugarcoat that. It'll be a tough road, but you can do it. There's people that do it. I mean, there's a filmmaker that I work with. I can't name the filmmaker of the movie, but he just did $100,000 on TVOD 2 months ago when his movie premiered, just in 1 month. And I believe it was on Amazon through the TVOD. So it definitely can be done. I just passed for distribution on Filmhub. How do you know if channels are viewing your project? So you don't really. They have Filmhub has internal metrics. They have an internal rating system. It's mostly algorithmic based that decides where they submit your films to. If you talk to them, and you're polite and not pushy, they'll usually tell you stuff like that. But most of the time they won't know, because like I said, it's behind the scenes. Like I actually did a video for this a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago. I think it was on Wednesday. So like check out that video, and it'll totally answer this question. But I don't have my project posted anywhere else. Does that hurt my chances? So, and the one thing I will tell you though about Filmhub, and they do base a lot of where they submit you based on how well you're doing on whatever platform they put you on first, which is typically Amazon. And if they don't have those numbers, sometimes it can take a little while to for a movie to get picked up by more platforms. And this is all changing, because you got to remember, like, Filmhub's fairly new. Like I've only been with them for a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And when I first signed up for Filmhub, like Tubi TV existed, but it wasn't what it is today. It was just one of the other little nothing platforms that wasn't returning anything. So, I would put movies up, and I would usually do Amazon myself. So it would take, I had Monsters in the Woods, for example. I submitted that to Tubi back in sometime in 2018. And, it was already on Amazon myself. I think they put it on Screenbox. I was talking about that earlier. And at some point it picked up on Screenbox and did some pretty decent numbers. And then the next thing I know, it was on Tubi TV. But that whole process took almost a year. I think, like I said, I think I went up like early to mid 2018, and it was like 2020 when when it went on to Tubi. But that was also 2 years ago. I have titles now. I submit them on a Monday, and by Friday they're up on Tubi. Not always, but they can get through. What was that streaming partner you mentioned? Vyre. VYRE, and they might be from the UK. I was remembering off the top of my head. The first deal I ever made with these guys was actually directly, and I did it through Vuller, VUULIR.com. And Vuller's basically, it's kind of like Filmhub, but just for foreign deals. It's all non-exclusive. I haven't made a ton of money through them so far, but it's a little bit here, a little bit there. So I would check them out. I heard yes. So I do know a little bit about the pay scale change, and I've been asked not to reveal it. Looking from my numbers, and I talked about this a little bit earlier. How it was 50% or under was a penny. I'm 95% sure that's been raised to 60%. And then from like 60 to 90, it's like 2 cents. And then like 90 to 100, it slides up to the 12. And again, I don't know that many people with CERs that are over 90%. So it's kind of, I can't confirm that information. But I know one filmmaker with a 95 that claims to be making 5 cents, but I haven't seen the actual numbers to confirm it. Wow. A lot of questions today. This is cool. How is your feature fiction projects going? Are you going to use the same marketing tactics for them? Yeah, a lot of it. Like if you guys go back and you see like my 4-step marketing plan video, I mean, that's like the basis of how I attack everything. The only thing that changes is, it's the interaction with the different fan bases, so yeah, for the fiction projects, I'll be going through the same steps. The only difference on the fiction ones is, at least this has just been my experience, I find it's a little bit harder to narrow down and target in an audience with fiction movies. I mean, even if it's a very specific genre, when you're that's one of the reasons like I really pivoted hard into documentaries in this last year is, if you have a documentary about dog rescues, it's pretty damn easy to find that audience. Like people that like dogs, people that are into dog rescues, people that are into volunteering for dog rescues, cat rescues, whatever, animal rights, and boom. Same thing with the Bigfoot documentaries or alien documentaries or whatever it is. It's really specific. But yeah, with fiction stuff though, you still use the same basics. Anyway, the projects are going well. The development, I have 3 super low budget ones that I'm going to do this year. I keep saying that, but then I keep pushing them off. Honestly, guys, the main thing that's kept me from jumping back, 100% into narrative stuff is COVID. I can do a documentary. I can go to someone's house by myself with, the audio equipment and the camera and the light, and I can put on a mask and, I can do the whole thing and never come close to them. But, on a narrative feature, even a super low budget one, I'm not 100% comfortable with it yet. But I will be, I'm hopefully will be into that before the end of the year. I'm hoping summer, and I'll be talking a lot more about those as I really physically pull the trigger on them. I did say that I was going to try October Coast as a PR firm, and I have not yet. I was this was going to be the month to do it. When the thing with Amazon happened, like I said earlier, I had I'm taking about a 30% hit this month. So I'm trying to move around some money, and then I'll probably try them. I have a movie coming out in May that I think would benefit from their help. But again, I don't have too much to say about them yet. How much do you attribute to your marketing versus platform's algorithm? Oh, wow. That's a really good question. Very astute. So honestly, man, I'll be straight honest. I would say 60% algorithm, 40% marketing. But the way that I think that works for AVOD and TV and SVOD platforms is if you can just give projects a push, if you can just get that ball rolling, like a lot of the algorithm will do the work for you. And even more importantly than all of that, if you've properly, made a movie for an audience with an audience in mind, and are delivering what that audience wants. If you're doing all of that, that percent could, could go to 2080. But But yeah, I would definitely say a big part of the success is more algorithmic. But you got to keep in mind too that a lot of the stuff I'm talking about on here, especially the development stuff and making the movie for the audience and all of that stuff, which isn't like direct marketing, but it kind of is. And I think that goes towards the success of my documentaries, especially, rather than just the straight marketing. For example, when I decided to do the Bigfoot movie, I went into groups and like hundreds, and I spent a couple of weeks going through these groups, and I saw that not only was there a huge demand for more content, you could kind of figure out what kind of content they wanted from it. So like I knew when I released that movie that it was going to do okay. It's not going to make me rich, but it's going to do well. Yes, I would say right now in general, Tubi is more viable for indie films than Prime, because of the rates. Now, excuse me. That said, let's keep in mind that shoot, I just totally lost my train of thought. I was talking about Tubi being more. Oh yeah. So keep in mind that. And I forget what the specific numbers are, but there's something like 150 million, people that are on Amazon Prime, or 95 million or some crap like that. And then, with Tubi TV, it's probably a quarter of that. And again, I'm pulling these numbers out my ass. I'm not sure what they are, but Tubi TV in the overall scheme of the world is still a very niche, small platform. Amazon is one of the, top 5, it's like what, Amazon, Hulu, Netflix, whatever else. But that said, I think in general, indie filmmakers are making more money off of Tubi in general. And again, it depends on your project. Like I said, I'm doing like all these documentaries, and the documentaries in the last few months, the Tubi revenue has surpassed the Amazon. But like a year ago, I was still making way more off Amazon than Tubi. This is only very recently changed for me, although I've heard other filmmakers that saw this change in their stuff, a year ago. So Mr. Berger asks, what social media platform is the most successful for marketing your films and docs? Okay, guys. So, man, this is a complex question, and it depends on what you're good at and what you know. I'm pretty good with Facebook. I know Facebook. So Facebook is my number one platform. I know how to do the ads there. I'm good at the posting there. I know how to work in the groups. It's what I've spent the most time doing. So I'm able to convert viewers there easier than anywhere else. But that really the number one reason is I just spend more time there. I'm starting to do better on Instagram. But as far as like my personal like day-to-day stuff, I spend more time on Facebook. So I'm better at Facebook. I've been trying to get into TikTok because I keep hearing people say like TikTok's a huge marketing opportunity right now. But man, I'm an old dude. I don't know what's going on over at TikTok, and then, I'm not so great on Twitter, but I post there, but I don't get the same interaction. So I would say this, what the social media platform that does the best for you is going to be the one that you know how to navigate the best. And it's that simple. I mean, I know filmmakers that do very, very well on Twitter. I don't. I know filmmakers that do very, very well on Instagram. I don't. I do very well on Facebook. I know other filmmakers that don't. So, it just depends on your comfort level and what you're good at using. Do you think Amazon's new policy is going to extend to Prime direct narratives too, or was Amazon's policy motivated by something else? So I talked a little bit about their motivation for the docs earlier. I'll real briefly recap. I do think that the political element or inappropriate content is a big part of why they purge docs and shorts. I think it's more about stuff like not necessarily. I think it's more about stuff that was made for other platforms that shouldn't have been there in the first place, like people uploading YouTube type videos and stuff like that. And yes, although the political thing could be a huge part of that, I don't know. Do I think that it will extend to direct narrative features? I think it could. Like if I was a betting man, the over under, I would say it's 50-50 that within the next year, Prime Video Direct will just be shut down. Like the only people that'll be able to get on there will be distributors or aggregators. But who knows? And they may walk back the documentary thing in a few months. Like who knows? They'll figure out how to better curate or how to keep out the inappropriate content. But we'll just have to wait and see. If I'm a betting man, I would bet that Prime Video Direct's days are numbered. I am thinking of the Indie Doctor View channel. I believe I can use for fair dealing. Oh yeah, I think that'd be cool. I wouldn't have a problem with it. I would think, yeah, no, I wouldn't have a problem with it at all. I actually think that's a pretty good idea. And if you do it, throw me a line when it gets up and running. I would love to check it out. Filmhub only works for person who has world rights. Does Filmhub? Yeah, are you asking a question or are you telling me? Yeah, Filmhub's a totally non-exclusive agreement. It goes platform to platform. If you make a direct deal with anyone, you can make that deal. You just have to let them know and not to submit to that channel. I fracture rights on a lot of stuff. I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. I think it depends on the movie and the budget level and what your option for that stuff is. Again, the reason that I don't do it a lot is especially, if you're talking about a $5,000 or $10,000 movie, the investment risk isn't that big. And there are so many risks in licensing to distributors. There's so many. So if you make a $10,000 movie and they have a $15,000 sales cap, that doesn't make sense. And also I want to clear something up. Like I'm not giving it to these guys for free. I don't pay anything to them up front, but I get, 80% of whatever those things make. They make 20% of whatever it is. It's a total legitimate, exhibition method. But yes, if you can license to somebody bigger and they're going to give you an MG or something like that, absolutely. Like my whole thing on distribution is like, you should never think about it like black and white. Like this is what I'm going to do and this is all I'm going to do. You should always keep an open mind. So yes, I'm talking a lot about, Filmhub and Amazon and doing stuff DIY, but I have projects that I go straight to distributors with as well, and on past projects, larger distributors. What is your most successful title and where's it being streamed? So this year, the movie that, this is a little complicated. The movie that was making the most for me was a movie called Alien Contactee. It was on Amazon and it had been selected for Tubi. It was purged from Amazon. Right now, it's not anywhere. Like it should be back on Tubi, be on Tubi any day now. It's been selected. I'm just waiting for it to go live. Yeah, it was my biggest earner, or one of my biggest earners for the year. And it was, yeah. Other than that, I did another one called Don't Call Me Bigfoot that did very well. You can find that on Tubi and Amazon, and a bunch of others. Another one I did called I Want to Believe, which was a UFO documentary, did really well. That's on Amazon and Tubi and a bunch of others. Anyway, the alien stuff and the Bigfoot stuff, and I did one on fighting called Why We Fight. Which was about 3 different fighters in different disciplines and like why they do what they do. And that actually did really well. cannabis documentaries did really well. And then I have my narratives, like Monsters in the Woods, which didn't hardly make anything in its initial release, is earning some money now. Same with Trap. I can't really get into the weeds on those numbers, but they're doing okay. But overall, I would say probably Alien Contact to You is probably the most successful this year. If you talk about, in my entire career, I had a movie called Edges of Darkness that was released in 2008. And that movie has made like, oh man, in 10 years, I don't know how much. In the first quarter, it made a couple $100,000. I'll say that. Have you experienced with any non-Facebook ads? Yes. Not as much as I should be though. So I've tried Google ads, and I just haven't quite nailed it yet. Because, I've been doing Facebook ads for so long, and I'm pretty good at it. Like, so I can get a Facebook ad on almost anything under a penny a click. But, like with Google, it was like $2 or $3. And I've experimented a little bit with Pinterest. I've experimented a little bit with Instagram, which is owned by Facebook, and I've experimented with Twitter. And I've done a couple of YouTube ads, which I guess is Google AdSense now. But I've yet to have the same kind of results I do on Facebook. But again, I attribute that to the fact that I'm just more comfortable on Facebook. I have a 25 animated short. It's part of a 6-episode serial. I produce 1 episode every 45 days. So man, I'll be honest. I don't know how they categorize their shorts and series. I've only uploaded 1 series for them ever, and it was a documentary series, and I uploaded them all at the same time. But if you would just message support and ask them, support@filmhub.com, and they'll tell you. And honestly, again, I don't know how it will affect your monetization, because again, I haven't had a ton of experience in animated short content. Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And yeah, I'm going to keep making documentaries. I am continuing to submit to Filmhub. Some I still take through distribution, depending on the project. And I am working much harder over these last few months to establish more direct connections with different platforms. For example, we just signed a deal with Stream Go Media directly, and a few others. So that's my future interest is more in establishing more direct connections. But I think Filmhub is a fantastic platform. I really want to work on me once I get advice on while surviving. Oh man, so I worked at Starbucks like my first 5-6 years making movies, maybe a little bit longer. It was a flexible job. So I would say, actually, my advice though would be to find something within the industry, PA stuff, learn to edit, dude. If you're not editing, learn to edit. If you can get edit work, dude, it pays well. You're sitting there with the producers and EPs. It's a great job for somebody that wants to be a full-time filmmaker. But anyway, there's going to be some early years, man, where you're just going to burn the candle on both ends. You're going to work all day to eat, and then you're going to work you're going to work half the day to eat, and you're going to work half the day to make your art. And that's how I did up until 5 or 6 years ago. In my opinion, Filmmaker, yes. Yeah, I would say I'd say a lot of people confuse sales agents and distributors totally. And there's a lot of misconception about what Filmhub is. So Filmhub is not a distributor, but they're not quite an aggregator either. It's like a weird middle ground. They call themselves a marketplace, but you're not paying up front. It's not really an aggregator, but they're not giving you the same kind of support that a distributor would. But there's also no contract and it's totally non-exclusive. But yeah, man, a lot of people don't know the difference between a sales agent. Thanks for your help. I feel like you're rooting for. Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm planning, guys, like on doing these live streams. I do them once a month, last Sunday of the month, and it's just here to help you guys. And also, to be honest with you, I have a lot of anxiety about doing live streams, so I'm just trying to do it to basically face a fear. And I appreciate you guys all taking part, man. It's awesome. All right, guys, I'm gonna take one more question and then I'm gonna wrap this up. This is from okay. Hello, Jay. What are the possibilities of short films making? Okay, so I am gonna say this about I don't care where you're trying to put them out. It's very, very hard to monetize short films. And I'm, not trying to rain on anybody's parade. Like short films are a great way to get noticed. They're a great way to start building up an audience. But as far as like direct, one-to-one monetization, it's really hard. Like if you're just like, if your goal is to make money, and you're making shorts, find a way to combine them into something larger. If you're wanting to monetize them. But like again, there's people, there's A-list filmmakers that have made their career by making short films, putting them up on YouTube, and getting noticed. So I definitely think short films is a viable thing to do. As far as monetization, it's tough. You know what? I said that was the last one, but I kind of want to answer this LA question. Now that you're, you know what, Drew? I will let you know when I do it. I was just saying it earlier. I've been kind of postponing. I have a couple of projects that I want to move back into narrative-wise, and I've postponed it with COVID going on. And I have not. I've been in Georgia now for 4 or 5 months, and I mean, I have networked like almost none. I'm in my house working most of the time. But I've spent times living other places. I think someplace like Atlanta is pretty easy to find cast. I mean, I've had people coming out of the woodwork, both on Facebook and social media asking about auditions and stuff like that. I don't think it'll be a big deal, but we'll see. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this live stream. Thank you so much for checking it out. I really, really, really appreciate Mr. Berger throwing up that super chat, man. That was awesome. And I've noticed you on here being really supportive of this channel. I much appreciate that. Appreciate you all. If any of you are not subscribed, please do so. And I always feel cheesy asking to hit the like button or smash the like button or whatever people say, but do it. And throw an extra comment down in the comment box. Like that stuff does help. And I appreciate it. All right, guys. We will see you next month.